Today we're looking at Abraham Lincoln's tomb. Hello, welcome to the Daily Bellringer. Please don't forget to subscribe and take a look at the questions down in the description. On April 15, 1865, President Abraham Lincoln died at the age of 56 after being shot by assassin John Wilkes Booth the evening before while attending a play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. Barely a week before, Robert E. Lee had surrendered his Confederate Army to Ulysses S. Grant, effectively ending the American Civil War. Lincoln was at the peak of his success, as he had just led the nation through its most trying time when he was shot down. The nation entered into a period of mourning, with Lincoln being the first president in U.S. history to be assassinated. Lincoln's body now embarked on an almost 1,700-mile trip back to his hometown of Springfield, Illinois. On April 21, 1865, Lincoln's funeral train departed Washington, D.C., carrying the president's body and his 11-year-old son Willie, who had died in 1862 of typhoid fever. On the trip to Springfield, the train never traveled faster than 20 miles per hour and made stops in 11 different cities from Washington to Springfield. Thousands of Americans filed past the president's coffin as Lincoln lied in state in cities such as New York, Buffalo, Cleveland, Indianapolis, and Chicago. On May 4, 1865, Lincoln's body was interred here at Oak Ridge Cemetery in Springfield, Illinois, in a temporary receiving vault, as already upon Lincoln's death there were plans to build a large grand tomb for the 16th president. In 1871, construction began on Lincoln's tomb, and in that same year, President Lincoln, along with his three youngest sons, Eddie, Willie, and Tad, who had all passed away, were placed in the tomb. The tomb was officially completed in 1874. Then, 8 years later, in 1882, Lincoln's wife Mary Todd passed away and was placed in the tomb. The only member of the Lincoln family not buried within is Lincoln's oldest son Robert, who died in 1926 and is buried at Arlington National Cemetery in Washington, D.C. Lincoln's body was originally placed in an above-ground sarcophagus, but after an 1876 attempt by tomb robbers to steal his body and hold it for ransom, the president's body was buried beneath the ground within the tomb. The tomb itself is constructed of granite, and the entire tomb and grounds for the tomb cover 12.5 acres. At the center of the tomb is an obelisk that reaches 117 feet into the air. At the base of the obelisk is a statue of Lincoln and 4 statues surrounding him that represent the infantry, navy, artillery, and cavalry during the Civil War. Each of these were completed by sculptor Larkin Mead and were made from melted down cannons used during the Civil War. On the exterior walls beneath the statues are 37 shields representing the 37 states at the time the tomb was completed. There is a band running along the shields connecting them to represent the union of all the states. The tomb itself has gone through several interior renovations over the years, with the last taking place in 1930 and 1931. Upon entering the tomb, you enter an entrance rotunda with 16 marble pillars along the wall representing Lincoln being the 16th president. At the center of the entrance rotunda is a scaled-down prototype of Lincoln's setting from the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., sculpted by Daniel Chester French. Moving through the tomb's corridors towards the rear of the tomb where the Lincoln family is buried, you will find 8 smaller sculptures of Lincoln depicting him at various stages of his life, from living on the frontier, to being an attorney, to becoming president of the United States. Also along the walls of the tomb, there are 4 bronze tablets that are engraved with a brief biography of Lincoln, Lincoln's farewell address, the Gettysburg Address, and an excerpt from his second inaugural address. In the burial room, there is a 7-ton block red marble stone inscribed with the president's name and the years of his life. Lincoln's final resting place is not immediately under the stone. It is a little over 2 feet behind the stone and 10 feet down. In the room are 9 flags, with 7 of them being the flags of states where Lincoln and his ancestors lived, 1 being the presidential flag, and lastly the U.S. flag. Above the room is an inscription reading, "Now he belongs to the ages," which is reportedly what Secretary of War Edwin Stanton said upon Lincoln's death, although that cannot be confirmed. In front of the tomb is a sculpture of Lincoln done by sculptor Gutzon Borglum, who sculpted Mount Rushmore. It has become a tradition to rub Lincoln's nose for good luck after sailors leaving for World War II did so and all returned safely. In 1966, Abraham Lincoln's tomb was placed on the National Register of Historic Places, as to this day, it is a lasting memorial to one of America's greatest presidents in our nation's history. So with that, hopefully you learned something, and thanks for watching.